Welcome back to the What's Cooking Show. Again, we've got the best chef of St. Landry Parish, 6 years running now, Jason with Steamboat, and the co-host here of the show, and he's cooking us a nice seafood au gratin. Jason, where are we at?
Well, Joe, if you can smell it, got a nice little seafood flavor from our crawfish.
You can smell it, definitely.
So what we're gonna do is, we went ahead and lowered our flame. You wanna put this on as low as you can, because we're gonna add some flour and we don't want it to stick to the pan and everything. So since we used about a ½ pound of butter, we're going to use a cup of flour. And basically what we're doing, in essence, is making just a basic white roux, which is really just butter. It's the first stage in making a roux. When you add butter or oil, and then you add the flour to it, and it's not letting the flour begin to brown or anything like that. So there's the most simplest of roux to make.
And Jason, sometimes fresh seafood is not quite available. I mean, it's still good frozen, but I mean, if you feel like you want all fresh and stuff like that, you don't have to actually use all three of them. You can just use like shrimp and crawfish together, or
you can make shrimp alone. You can use lobster if you wanted. You could use claw crab meat if you wanted. Claw crab meat is full of flavor. So if you wanted to do that, you could do that. But if you see here, we've got a little white roux. It's basic white roux. It's made. So we're gonna go ahead, first we're gonna add 1 can of evaporated milk. This gives a good little sweetness to it, creaminess. And again, you don't want your pot too high, your flame, because this is gonna start thickening up really, really quickly.
And this is such an easy and fast recipe, Jason.
It's really easy, it's really quick. And you know, my philosophy has always been simplicity is key, so the simpler the better, the fewer ingredients you can use, the better. If you see, this is kind of maybe pasted up a little bit. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add, we got about 2½ pounds of shrimp. And what this is gonna do is the shrimp are going to, also once they start to cook, they are going to bleed some juices, their moisture in there, and it's gonna, they're gonna turn pink, things like that.
And that's when you actually flavors are coming out, is actually when they're bleeding.
Yes.
That's when you really start to taste the seafood.
And shrimp are really full of moisture, so you really want to go ahead. We got some heavy cream right here. And this, you know, on the recipe, you know, we have about a cup. But this you can actually, you know, use to your desired thickness, because the flour is still going to continue, the white roux, excuse me, is going to still continue to thicken this up. So basically what we're doing is trying to add the cream to make sure that it's the consistency we want.
Right.
So if you want it a little thick or real thick, you can add just a little bit. If you want it real thin, add a little more. Again, the recipe calls for about a cup of it, but that ingredient can be, you can play with that at home and, you know, do however you want.
Adjust it to your liking.
Yes.
Yeah. Now the question is, Jason, now, about how many people do you think this recipe would feed?
This one right here, well, it all depends. If you're using this, you can use this as an appetizer. You know, if you have a little group of friends coming in and you're having a little dinner party, and you want to make sure that if you're trying to do it for an appetizer, it would feed a lot more.
Oh, right, yes.
If you can do this for Thanksgiving and just have a little side dish, or you know, one of your main, or you know, one of the parts of your dish, like a little cover dish or something you bring to the party. This recipe right here could feed, I'd say, at least 6 to 8 people.
Yeah, if you sit down meal, right?
Yeah, because it's very rich. Once it's done, it's a very rich. We're gonna kick up our flame just a little bit, about medium. And basically at this point, I'm still trying to get it to the consistency I want, and I think we're just about there, Joey. But at this point, what you want to do is, we add a little salt earlier in the crawfish stage, because salt draws out the moisture of the crawfish. So I'm not going to add a whole lot more salt, but I will say I have noticed on this recipe, it takes a lot of salt to be able to actually taste it in each bite. So don't be afraid with the salt. Of course, you want to add a little bit at a time, then taste. Add a little bit at a time, then taste, just to make sure you don't over salt. Now this is a little bit of cayenne pepper, and we're going to just go ahead and put a little bit of that. You know, we always like a little bit of spice, so I don't want to put too much. So put that there, and again, that's another ingredient that you can add as much as, you know, to taste. If you like it a little more spicy, go ahead and add it. So at this point, this probably takes the longest part of the recipe. You want to make sure that you don't put the flame too high, because you want your shrimp to cook and become, once they start turning a little slightly pink, because you got to remember, this dish is going to go into a casserole dish. It's going to go into the oven. So if the shrimp aren't completely cooked, they will finish cooking in the oven in that process. So, but at the same time, you don't want the flame too high. You want to watch it closely, stir pretty often, because with the white roux it will stick really real easy. So you don't want to go too far.
It don't take a long time to make this recipe, so I mean, it's not like you're standing over the stove for 3 hours.
No, as you can see, they're starting to turn a little bit pink already. So some of them. So you want to make sure that you know at least halfway cooked. And in this recipe, we're using a medium shrimp, like a 70, 90 count shrimp. So it would take a little bit longer than if you would use the little, the small peeled shrimp, like stuffing size shrimp. So basically, this is the longest step, is just to kind of watch it and make sure the shrimp is cooked. And the next step that we're going to do is we have some fresh crab meat. But of course, the crab meat's already cooked, so we're going to put it at the last stage of the process. And then we're going to start finishing up the dish. And then we'll show you how to plate, how we redo it at the steamboat. And then we'll finish, do some final
Well, we're going to go ahead and continue the show in just a few minutes with Jason. And he's going to show us his finished dish and everything. And also, Jason, I know there's one time of the week that's really special to you, and I think that's Sunday mornings.
Sundays, I think, are the best days. People ask me all the time, man, when's a good day to go? I think Sundays are, especially if it's a nice day outside. Get your little Bloody Mary, a little mimosa, and go sit outside first and have your little light lunch. It's not so crazy hectic like it is on Fridays and Saturdays. So I think that's probably the best day to go.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back with Jason and his seafood au gratin here on the What's Cooking Show.